In the early days of this Ontario government's mandate, it proposed major changes to programs and services for children with autism. That prompted a huge reaction from families and experts, which led to a policy reversal, the shuffling of the cabinet minister responsible, and the creation of a task force to recommend a better way forward. Last week, the report of the Ontario Autism Program Advisory Panel came down. Here on what they found, the co-chairs, Marie Bountrogianni, former Ontario Minister of Children and Youth, and the former Chief Psychologist of the Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board, and Margaret Spoelstra, Executive Director of Autism Ontario. And Madam Chairs both, we are delighted to welcome you to TVO again.
Thank you.
Marie, just get us started here. Give us the background which led to the creation of this task force, your appointment as co-chair, and then off to the races we go.
Well, having been a minister, I know there are some tough decisions to make, and the former minister, Lisa MacLeod, made some decisions. They were not well accepted by the autism community. And so, to her credit, she did some consultations in the spring and then wanted to form a panel, a task force, to look at those recommendations and come up with a new program. She approached me and asked me if I wanted to co-chair. I asked who the other co-chair was, and when I was told it was Margaret Spoelstra, I said, okay, I'm in, having a great deal of respect for Marg. And again, to the former minister's credit, she appointed all of the members of the panel, a diverse group, some of which didn't agree with what she had done. So that took courage, and she was still the minister when this panel was put together. And
then got shuffled out later.
She got shuffled out later, yes.
Obviously, you are a former Liberal cabinet minister, and yet you were appointed by a Conservative government to head or to co-chair a really hot, toxic issue for this government.
Right.
What did you infer from that?
Well, at first I said, are you sure? But I knew that this was a very difficult file, a very emotional file. It was also a chance for me to revisit a file that, quite frankly, we didn't handle very well back in the day as well. It gave me a chance, perhaps, to remedy some of that. And there were reasons for why we handled it the way we handled it, and that's another show about politics. But that is another reason. And, you know, when a minister asks you, when a government asks you to do something, you do it. You do it out of duty. I also served on a committee for the Mental Health Commission under Stephen Harper. Again, you do it out of duty.
Gotcha. Margaret, obviously you brought forward a complex report on a complex subject that has numerous recommendations. We're going to try to kind of simplify as best we can here so people who are not part of this can better understand what's going on. The report kind of highlights that whatever the government eventually brings forward ought to be, quote unquote, needs-based.
Right.
Can you explain how that differs from what Lisa MacLeod tried to bring in when the Tories took over a year and a half ago?
The emphasis on needs-based really speaks to a focus on the child and their family and what the community can offer, and to be based on assessment of that child's needs and not based on an arbitrary amount of funding or a limit in terms of what you have access to that can support those needs.
Which is what the previous attempt reflected.
Yes.
Right? Because I gather what she was trying to do, Lisa MacLeod, she was trying to say, we've got this horrible backlog. The best way to empty the waiting lists is to offer fewer services as a whole, and that way we'll get more people into the pipe, so to speak.
Right.
Why was that so overwhelmingly rejected?
Because the range of need in autism is very wide. And you have children with very specific needs, very diverse needs, and you need to really pay attention to complex situations sometimes, and to look at what does that child need and really base it on assessment by professionals who know and understand and who know to work with families to understand that more clearly.
I don't want to oversimplify this, but again, it's such a complicated topic. I want to hear me out here and tell me if I've got this right. When the Liberals were in, they were offering lots of services, but because they were offering so many services, there were also very high waiting lists to get those services. MacLeod said, we're going to offer fewer services, and we're going to really lower the wait list as a result. That was very unhappy. This was very unhappy. Did you essentially recommend something in the middle? Fewer services, More services than what Lisa MacLeod was recommending, but still a bit of a wait list and not an emptying of the wait lists either? Is that essentially where we're at now?
I would say you're close.
Okay.
What we did is we listened to a great deal of consultations, and what parents told us is they'd rather wait to get the right services for their child than get something tomorrow that is irrelevant for their child. So that came out loud and clear. And what we did do, and I commend the amazing panel for their expertise and their passion on this, and for their compromise on the recommendations as well. We really came together. What they recommended is to expand core services. So you're right. So part of the core services now also include speech and language pathology, occupational therapy, mental health services, if you can't find them with the Ministry of Health, as well as, of course, applied behavior therapy. It also led to some foundational supports for families on the waiting list. So while they're waiting, they get something, because the wait is very difficult. And we have other provisions in there to oversee the wait list so that when children come off, others can come on in a more organized manner. So you're very close in your assessment, but as you can see from the length of the report, it's a little more complicated than that.
Sure.
But we were asked to do a comprehensive, needs-based, state-of-the-art program. We were also asked to see how education and health fit into this, and we did that too. We had subcommittees that reflected back to the bigger committee. We took longer than we were asked to take, but we had a very ethical committee. They weren't going to do anything that was less than pristine.
Okay, but Margaret, tell me this. If your recommendations, if adopted, will not empty the wait lists, right? There will still be wait lists. Are there going to be children who will therefore not get services because they will, quote unquote, age out before they can get served?
Well, the way we built this program and recommendations was with a view to not have a waiting list, so that in the ideal scenario that children would move through this list, and that the services that Marie referred to, looking at education and health, would also contribute to looking at that child in a focused way, in a holistic way. But we also talked about the importance of early intervention. So that is new in this story. And so we really understood the importance of those young kids getting something early on. And so one of the key recommendations is for parent-mediated involvement, so that the parents are learning while those kids have an opportunity when they're little, when we know it can have a significant impact on their development. And that piece is something that made us feel really proud of our work.
From what I understand, the expectations among the families involved, parents with autistic children, is that the government was going to significantly spend more in order to deal with this, as much as $600 million a year. I think they were under the impression that they would be getting that money in year one. It seems now the expectation is that the government may spend that much in year 4. Can you help us understand how much money is going to be spent and whether it's going to be adequate? Marie.
Oh, we were told it's $600 million a year, and that's starting in April with a new budget. That is when this program will be implemented. We were not told year 4.
So you're of the understanding that that $600 million is going to be spent starting the spring?
Yes.
And you have every expectation that that will happen?
Not only that, but we have an implementation committee that we're recommending that will give advice and, quite honestly, oversee a little bit the accountability of what we're recommending.
Now, here's the next question. Are there adequate, you can spend $600 million, but you've got to have the people out there that can actually deliver the services. Does this province have the resources to actually do this?
We have a good start, but
That sounds like a no.
It is a no. Right now, if we opened the doors and said everybody can get served today, we wouldn't have the capacity to do it. So it is critically important that capacity be built in all of these professional areas that have been recommended for core services, and that we really look at making sure that, I'll refer to the education and health pieces, when those pieces are working well, when those ministries are providing the supports that we made recommendations for in this report, we're hoping that it may help alleviate the pressures that are currently on MCCSS. It shouldn't be the only ministry.
Acronym.
Yeah. Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. It should not be a single ministry. We absolutely need our ministries to work together and to provide those supports for children and families when they need it, and that they're present and available to do what we know is already evidence-based, and where they can show their best professional expertise in all areas of a child's health and development.
Let me go off the path for a second here, but if you're in grade 12 right now, or maybe even first year college or university, this is sadly a growth industry, isn't it? We need more people in this field. Would you recommend like young people go into this field? Because you're going to have a job somewhere down the road if you go into this, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. Psychologists, social workers, and then our core areas of applied behavior therapists, as well as speech and language pathologists, as well as occupational therapists. And another role that we have recommended is a care coordinator, basically a case manager, but a little more than a case manager, so that families can leverage what the government implements easily. We were told in our consultations that families find it a jungle, particularly those whose English is a second language, are Indigenous citizens, as well as people in the rural
Northern
areas.
Ontarians especially.
Yeah.
How do you, if you live in Northern Ontario right now, I mean, already you're getting fewer services than people who live down south. How are you supposed to handle this?
Yeah, well, those families are looking at this and saying, what is that? What's in it for us? We already know that we don't have access to some of those professionals. Our choices are limited, and we have to travel great distances. So we spent a fair bit of time looking at the recommendations from those communities. And as well, the work of the implementation committee that Marie referred to is going to be critically important in making sure that those recommendations get implemented so that people have access to the professionals that they need.
We were told once upon a time that there are literally thousands upon thousands of names on the wait list waiting to get services. What's a reasonable expectation of how long that wait list ought to be once next spring comes, the money starts to flow, the services start to be delivered?
Well, in the ideal world, people wouldn't wait, as I was saying earlier.
We don't live in an ideal world.
We don't live in the ideal world. And I don't know at this point what that means. I think part of what we really need to focus on as well is as families start to move into this new program, the new OAP, is that we take really careful data about what it is they're actually asking for, how long are they having to wait on it for each of the individual areas that we identified as core services, and what does it mean to wait if you live in Thunder Bay versus if you live in Toronto for speech language services, for instance. What does it mean to wait for mental health services in Windsor? And all those stories, those families will tell you that their stories are different. And we already know that waiting varied in the province. But ideally, the waiting is not going to be a barrier to that child's development and growth. So I would like to see it that you get what you need when you need it. One of the other things that got recommended in this report is access to crisis supports. When we know that there are already children who are struggling, systems are not able to respond, and so we need to bring the professionals together to really have wraparound services for that child and that family. And really the focus needs to be on family here. What can happen in this particular situation, and how do we get those supports quickly to those families?
Your political antennae are still pretty good, so let me ask you this question. When the initial approach taken by Lisa MacLeod, the former minister, was unveiled, there was a firestorm of reaction. There were protests at Queen's Park. That dog was not going to hunt. Okay, now your recommendations have come out. The government has indicated it's going to accept them. It's going to put $600 million in the next budget towards it. How do you read the parent community of this issue right now and whether they're satisfied with this?
I think they're satisfied with the report. We've had good, very good feedback, but they're also a little untrustworthy of all of us, all political parties, and they're waiting to see if they won't be heartbroken again. And I don't blame them. There have been so many changes to the program over the last 20 years. So that's what the implementation committee will hopefully do, is advise the governments to go ahead. There are creative solutions to the issue that you just talked about. We had a shortage of doctors, and we still have a shortage of doctors in Northern Ontario, but we have incentives for doctors for their tuition to be paid while they're medical students in exchange for working in the North. We had that at least when we were in government. Perhaps a solution like that. There are solutions. There's always solutions.
I was actually going to ask you that because, you know, you having sat around a cabinet table know all too well, there are some issues for which there is no solution. Is there a solution to this problem?
There absolutely is. As a former psychologist, I can say that if a family waits more than 3 to 6 months for something, it might not be exactly what the treatment should be right away, but if they don't get anything, radio silence, and they're struggling on their own for 3 to 6 months, you're losing a lot of potential benefits for that child. And I know that as a former clinician. So there are children and families that have been waiting for years. They may not even need what they think they need because they don't know. And this is where the early intervention, early assessment will come in.
Do you think that parents are prepared at this point to sort of forgive and forget the missteps of this government over the first, say, 14 months they were in power on this file?
There have been so many changes to autism programs over several years, and I think parents are weary more than they are in a position to think about forgiving. And when you're feeling like every time there's a new thing you have to get familiar with, try to figure out where you are on a waiting list, try to figure out when is your child going to get what they need, when you're finding out your child is being sent home from school because they don't have the resources in school to support that child, it's easy to see families, we see them feeling exhausted and we see them feeling discouraged about that. So I think the fact that we actually saw such positive responses to the report is, I think, what the small amount we can ask for at this point. And I think until we actually, the proof is in the pudding. If this program gets implemented, then that's when families will be able to weigh in and say, this has made a difference, and we can talk about how we assign credit.
You say if this program is implemented. It's not a slam dunk that it's going to happen?
We've heard promises from the minister.
This is the new minister, Todd Smith.
Yes, the minister has said that this is the program they're planning to implement. And we have every reason to believe that that will be brought forward. And we know parents will hold his feet to the fire, as we say, and that we hope that people from the panel that we were both on will be included in the new implementation panel so that we have a seamless process here and get this going between now and April so that the work can already start.
Well, let me clarify that. You two, you have done your work on the task force. You have not been invited yet to join the implementation panel?
No, I don't know.
No, but
the process hasn't begun yet.
Yeah, it's very new, and we won't all be on the implementation committee. We recommended a sample of.
Okay. Because I did read something in preparation for this from one parent who said, they better keep the grass cut at Queen's Park, because we'll be back there before long protesting like crazy if these guys don't make good on what they said they're going to make good on. And they should, right?
You bet.
Absolutely.
All right. That's really helpful. Thank you very much to Margaret Spoelstra and Marie Bountrogianni for coming into TVO tonight and helping us out with this. Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.